I modified the terminology space-time to space memory because no memory, no time.
We are an embodiment of these basically chemical reactions, and we are predominantly space. What animates?
What makes it all work?
What makes it all work?
Like your coordinates in space-time, the way you interpret the world and the universe is being fed to the whole thing. You're part of the background temperature of the universe.
A lot of this is all rediscovery. Pyramids, great examples, but pyramids are everywhere. There's thousands of pyramids on the planet.
They're everywhere. They're finding pyramids everywhere.
If we talk about the feats of the engineering behind some of these monoliths.
Never mind thousands of them.
Yeah. So this information has existed for a long period of time. Demonstrations of, say, gravitational control.
The evidence is on the planet.
Yeah.
If it was one anomaly somewhere or a few anomalies around the world, you could say, oh, well, they're anomalies. Maybe they were able to do it. But, you get thousands and thousands of anomalies of very, very large objects that were moved long distances in very unfriendly terrain,
where there's no other record of that particular rock being in that local vicinity.
Correct. Or you know exactly where the quarry is, and it's like 2 valleys over on top of a mountain, like in Peru, where you have like monolithic, 100-ton boulders, 200-ton, 300-ton boulders, that are on one top of a mountain assembled in a temple, in an ancient temple, and the quarry is literally like across this huge valley. I mean, you're on top of a mountain, like not a small mountain, like we're talking very high mountain peaks. And, you have a huge valley below, and it's coming from across the valley on top of the other mountain over there. It's like no go.
They had really strong slaves.
It doesn't happen with modern machinery, and it doesn't happen with a bunch of slaves. And and then why? If you don't have these kind of capabilities, you don't do these things. Or you have statues in Egypt that are in the middle of the desert that weighs 1,000 tons,
So for you, the evidence is out there, right?
Oh, it's out there. It's thousands of pieces of evidence.
So I guess it's kind of like a positive and negative, right, for someone doing your work, because on the positive side, it must have been an incredible amount of validation for you personally that there's clear evidence that this stuff has been done before. It's not unfamiliar to us. There's an abundance of evidence.
Yeah, and it's in the Morses and in the traditions of these all around the world of these cultures, talking about very advanced civilization that used to be there, that was destroyed by a cataclysm. I mean, there's a lot of it. Like, it's not just the pieces that are there, but it's actually in the traditions.
Yeah, in the traditions, sewed into our religions, but obviously it's how you decipher the real messaging behind these textures and these scriptures. But then on the other side of the coin, you have, say, well, the elites will never feel truly elite unless there's a hierarchical difference, right? So you have the other side where we have a society structure and a societal complex, which when you have this type of thinking, even like, oh, okay, I believe in extraterrestrials, okay? You are typically, maybe not as much recently, but definitely say even like 10 years ago.
Oh, sure.
It was an aggressive lashback.
Oh, absolutely.
Called you, laughed at.
Yeah.
And society went through a great amount of, when I say the higher ups in our society, went for a great amount of effort to conduct and orchestrate that type of reaction deliberately.
Absolutely, yeah.
So,
and it didn't make it easier for me to deliver my message.
So that's the thing, right? You've got validation on one side, and then you've got basically condemnation
on the other,
on the other side. Yeah. So,
yeah, and for me, it was an early decision that I was not going to censor myself so that my message would become more palatable. I just couldn't do it. For me, it was going for the truth at all levels, right? and I just wasn't gonna censor myself to, to be more acceptable. And it of course it hurt me. It's harder, for people that have more difficulty with these concepts, although it's finally slowly going away. I mean, last week there was, a big newspaper, I think it was the New York Times or Washington Post, that had like a big title like extraterrestrials are real and they might be walking amongst us, and
you had the Navy validation of the UFO footage.
That's right.
As well, you've got patents being published.
Exactly.
As well.
And you have modern astronomy that's realizing that there's billions and billions and billions of exoplanets, right? Planets from other solar system, where before they thought there was most likely very rare that stars had planets. Now they can't find stars that don't have them, and they're finding many planets that are in the Golden Knot region where, it's warm enough and cold enough.
Huge component of that is through the rapid advancements of technology. Scientists now have tools of self-validation to ideas, concepts, and theories. Whereas before there was official channels, you had the big telescopes, so they're the only ones who can see out far. It was a lot easier to control, censor, and neuter and kill information.
It's still very much there, though. I mean, it's
absolutely.
very difficult to publish. If you publish with these kind of ideas, it's hard. I'm still censored on many sites, governmental sites where I should be able to place my papers. I'm censored there. I'm on blacklist. I'm on blacklist at Wikipedia. I mean, why millions of people follow my work. I can't get a Wikipedia page up. I mean, and the reasons that are given are not appropriate reasons. And
it's because you're on the money. We're seeing the exact same thing right now in the Bitcoin and crypto community.
Oh, really?
It's been around for 11 years.
Yeah.
But the amount of misinformation, deliberate misinformation, very well orchestrated misinformation, to kill what the real promise of Bitcoin is. Because what Bitcoin truly can bring to the world is genuine light, a way of having true accountability, a way of tracking human-to-human interactions, human-to-machine interactions, and machine-to-machine interactions on a tape indefinitely, and actually do a complete, utter audit trail.
It sounds like the structure of the vacuum.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right?
Hopefully, eventually, we can use the structure of the vacuum itself when we can access it.
100%, dude. Like this is where my head's at.
Right.
This is why I coined it like space-time, time chain.
Yeah.
But
true quantum computers.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. But because the few at the top, who I believe genuinely saw the real purpose of Bitcoin, it has been so viciously attacked and neutered from within. And the original inventor of Bitcoin, who was under the pseudonym of Satoshi Nakamoto, didn't want to be in the public domain, right? But when the project was being taken very, very aggressively, of course, in fact, doing the very things that he was trying to fight against, facilitating the illicit trade, trafficking, etc., is what the coin has basically, what the community really has become, is being utilized for these types of trade. But that's not the promise of the technology. So the inventor had to step back out, where he got dragged out of hiding because people were just hunting him down, but they dragged him out to then destroy his image. Fortunately, he's strong enough to take the abuse that's been handed to him.
Yes.
Smart enough.
You have to be strong. Yeah.
But smart enough to time around it and know how to fight back. But the way, his name's Dr. Craig, right? The way that he is still to this day so viciously attacked for what it is that he is doing. And I think any disruptive technology or any disruptive thinker that has something that genuinely can serve the masses and provide an equilibrium, a neutralizer to that hierarchy, right? And allow us all to benefit from systems that allow us to build and move forward the way it is that we choose to build and move forward. I think it's just an unfortunate thing, But fortunately, I actually do feel like with all this political changes happening around the world, I feel like we're getting to the end of that cycle of our society and human existence, where we are going to step into a much more collaborative journey, a much more collaborative realm.
Yes. Hopefully we get there on time, right?
That's the thing, right?
Yeah, that's the thing, because the thing, we're running out of resources. We've thrown our environment in the, tailspin. We've upset the natural order of things pretty well on the planet. We're in trouble, and we have a short amount of time to get it together, realize that we're all on the same planet. We're all literally on the same boat going across the universe. And we better learn to collaborate and work together and open the doors to, to like abundant ideas of, it's remarkable, we now know, for instance, that there is most likely thousands, millions, billions of different beings on different societies on planets out there. There's 40 billion habitable planets. This is the last estimate. In our galaxy alone, that's in one galaxy. Okay, those are planets that are not too close to their star to be too hot or too far to be too cold, that could host life as we know it. Never mind if life can develop in hotter condition or...
But it's that golden
state, that Goldilocks region. And it don't, and some of these society might have millions of years, billions of years ahead of us. That in cosmological time, that's nothing, right? Like for our solar system to go one circle around the galactic arm that we're in is like 30 million years from equator to equator, 60 million years around. Just that's one turn, right? So you could have planets that have millions, billions of years ahead of us. What does a computer look like in a million years, right? Like, what does it look like in a billion years, right? It probably doesn't have a mouse and a keyboard.
It definitely would. It definitely would.
It's probably just completely, reading your brainwave frequency, and it's
done.
It's doing exactly what you want it to do. If you still have a brain, you might not have a brain anymore. You might be completely different form. Right?
But this is a great way to then talk about a little bit of detail about these, because we're talking about all the variances of different types of life forms. A lot of the, say, ancient knowledge that we have on this planet. We can definitely see the evidence of monoliths being built, which is quite clear to look like, okay, there's no way. Then we've even got, say, a lot of even biblical references, Nephilim, fallen angels. Like there's just so many pieces out there. But then you pick up, say, artifacts like this.
So there's artifacts that were found, that are very unusual. And there's more and more that are being found around the world in different countries. This is just a few, ones that were lended to me to test, and the tests are showing that they're ancient.
So let me show you
this
one.
For instance.
So you got this one here, okay?
Yeah.
So there's a fractal image at the back.
Yeah.
So you have they look Mayan almost.
Yes, they have similarity to Mayans.
You can see a face here. I don't know if the camera is going to be able to get that. Maybe try and get a little closer look. But then you have basically the same face and the body inside the face. Yeah,
inside the face, or inside a capsule or something. And in this case, it's a ceramic piece. So we can test the ceramic with a very reliable method, which is thermoluminescence, because when they baked the piece, after that there is a constant emission of luminescence or photons there, and we can measure that and figure out when it was baked. And so this piece from standard laboratories is given an age of approximately 2,800 years. Well, 2,800 years old, why were they drawing people with like the big eyes and stuff?
Because this looks kind of like how your typical gray alien is depicted.
Right. In modern era, people that have said to have seen extraterrestrials.
But then what's interesting is the face here is very different to the one that looks like it's being depicted here. And you can see it's 5-star formation, head, obviously shoulders, 2 arms, 2 legs.
Right. So basically, this is very interesting. Part of these pieces that are being found, it's another one. In this case, clearly,
Oh wow! Okay, so you got clearly UFOs there.
Yeah, clearly.
You got one inside a UFO. In a spacesuit.
Yeah, exactly, in a spacesuit. Clearly, there's a planet back there that has an atmosphere. There's a comet with a ship in the tail of the comet.
So how old is this piece?
So we don't know, because this piece is a stone. I can't do carbon dating and I can't do thermoluminescence because it's stone. But this piece was found with other pieces that have, this various things. For instance, some of them have inlays, and we can test the glue because the glue has carbon in it, and the glue gives us the age. The age vary widely in the pieces. Like this one is fairly young, although it's 2,800 years, which places it at the beginning of the Maya and Inca. But the
oldest piece?
The oldest piece. So the oldest piece is this one that we've tested so far. I don't have the piece here, but this piece is, and this is standard.
Wow.
So this piece is a bust. It's fairly big, and the age is so old, and the material is so interesting. It's very hard to
This is done with
get an
luminescence
accurate
test, carbon dated, or how?
No, this was thermal luminescence as well,
Which is actually more accurate, isn't it?
which can be more accurate, yeah, but it should be fairly accurate. Although in this case, it was very hard for them to get an accurate reading. They can get an estimated reading, and the estimated reading is 15,400 years old. That's the oldest piece. 15,000. So that predates the last ice age, right? And which, the meltdown of the last ice age is what all these cultures around the world describe as the flood that ended the earlier civilization that was on our planet. So, this piece might actually be rescued from, may have been rescued from a civilization that predated ours. And all this, these are very good tests, and they're very, accurate. So, and from the carbon dating, we got, from other pieces, we got a bunch of different values that a lot of them are in between 8,000 and 9,000 years old. So there's all kinds of, it seems like the information was kept alive, going from one generation to the other, across civilizations, of this earlier civilization that had very advanced technology that came from the stars. And this is, it's in the Bible, it's in the Quran, it's in all of the different, so many different.
Like fallen angels fell from the heavens and bred with the women of men.
That's right, exactly. The sons of God, came to the earth. It says that literally in the Bible. If they came to the earth, they weren't from the earth, right? And they had children with the women of men. So they weren't esoteric beings. They were able to have children.
Because obviously the Bible was translated from Hebrew, right? But then you have the real original Hebrew scripture, and even the simple things like the story of Adam and Eve, right? You look at, say, the latest King James Version, populate the earth. You look at the original Hebrew, just one word, repopulate the earth. Just one word, completely different meaning.
Right, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And this is...
It's controversial, and there's a lot more science that has to be done to confirm this. And But just offhand, the evidence of an earlier civilization on our planet that was much more advanced is overwhelming.
Yeah.
Okay? And there's a lot of good research that have been done. And the population is quite hip on this.
They're ready.
They're ready. I mean,
ready.
one of the most popular show on History Channel is Ancient Alien.
But if you look at, say, even movie theaters and box office ticket sales, right? Star Wars, one of the biggest films of all time.
Right.
Interstellar, one of the biggest films.
Yeah.
We have such an appetite for cosmology and the stars and our place in all of it. It's like we know without vocalizing that there's a reason why I'm drawn to this, right? There's a reason why we're all drawn to this. There's a reason why we're all drawn to the story of the Jedi and the dark side, right? And seeing all of these different crafts, these different groups, interacting with different types of beings. Like we go, we pay, we eat our popcorn, we have our Coca-Cola at the theaters, and we watch this like it's fiction.
Right.
But when you get to a state of understanding and you realize, okay, you see things that are carbon dated, like 14,000+ years. You've been studying subject matter for over a decade. You're sitting in a theater now. You're like, they left a lot of stuff out.
Right. Well, that's the thing. There's two things. One is that we're finding we're finding sites around the world that are now like telling a completely different story. Like in Turkey, the sites that were found that are 13,000 plus years old, and they have huge megalithic rocks, and all this. There's as well, understanding that, if you look in history, like modern history, and you look at sci-fi or, like fiction novels or fiction writing or fiction movie later on, you find that it's always predate the event of the development of these technologies, right? Like the refrigerator, the submarine, the cell phones, the rockets, going to the moon, like all these things were in sci-fi long before they were realized, but they were eventually realized.
Yeah.
So if you want to know a little bit about the future, right? Well, you look at the sci-fi.
Absolutely.
Right? You look at, because if it exists in the imagination of humans, it most likely will manifest.
Or has been manifested.
And
going back to that whole downloading, redrawing the stuff, it's out there.
Feed forward, feedback.
Absolutely.
Right. And so, there is, I have no doubt that we will eventually, just as much as our society has grown tremendously from learning to control electromagnetic fields, the lights that lights us up, what makes your Tesla run, like electromagnetic fields, make your cell phone run and everything. Our society evolved because we learned from, Faraday, how to produce electric fields, to produce power, and then from Maxwell, how to control electromagnetic fields and all this. The next step for our evolution is to learn to control gravitational fields.
Okay, and that's exactly what I want to get onto, right? So it's a reason why I wanted to cover this stuff, because it's so important to know where we've been, to have a good indication of, okay, where we can go, right? And where it is that we're going. So a lot of people might think, well, this is archaeology. Like, what's this got to do with what you guys are doing here at Torus Tech? In my opinion, it's got everything to do with what you guys are doing here at Torus Tech, because this has been done before. This is knowing who we really truly are, who we have been, who we are connected with, who we interact with. There might even be presence, in fact, very high probability. In fact, I'm not censoring myself. There's presence today. These are still very much forces. And if you don't know our past, how can we know how to move forward and reconnect, right? Right. So...
I was gonna say, it's not just a bunch of crazy hippies out there. I mean, like Francis Crick, which was with his collaborators, given the Nobel Prize for discovering the structure of DNA. In 1973, published papers talking about how, from his studies, he concluded that most likely life on Earth was seeded by an advanced civilization that, purposely seeded the Earth.
And they left that bit out, right?
That paper was published but ignored, although this was the best geneticist on the planet telling us,
Give Nobel Prize. Oh, he doesn't know what he's talking about. No, he doesn't know what he's talking about. Yeah.
Ignore that paper. He was old and, going a little gaga, So, I mean, it all kind of goes together. And, it has to do with misunderstanding of the natural order of things, like realizing we're not isolated, we're not, like some kind of fluke that happened on some planet alone in the universe floating around, that we're actually part of this amazing connected universe, like mechanism. Absolutely. And it's not just some philosophical or a spiritual concept or a religious concept. It's actually the way things work, and we can write good physics on it. And it's just physics we hadn't understood. I always say that about spirituality and even religion. It's just physics we haven't understood. When we understand, then we can get rid of the dogma part, right? And just stay with the truth.
Absolutely.
Which is way more fantastic than we think it is. Right?
And that is the mission and the promise, I guess, to humanity that we're both on, right? But so my mission is building and helping build the new financial infrastructure that is built on benevolent foundations, that has accountability baked in, and that allows what I believe the human experience to be is that we're now entering a data economy where human consciousness is the new oil field, and it needs to be able to genuinely thrive, right? And I have had very ambitious and bullish aspirations as to what the human condition is going to be on this planet. And it's so much so that it inspired the name of the Bitcoin banking ecosystem that we're building, which is called Gravity. In fact, geometry has been a huge driver in the creation of Bitstocks. It's been in our logos, it's in our business model. Gravity model is actually inspired by the doubling sequence. It's inspired by cellular mitosis. It's inspired by a lot of these things that we've been speaking about today. But ultimately, the term gravity, and it's in my opinion, maybe not if one of the most misunderstood terms out there as to truly what gravity is. And people ask me all the time, and I always kind of tease and hint as to what it really is. But there is genuinely no one else better to explain what that is and ask that question to than you, sir. So, big question. Nassim, what is gravity?
Well, that's the thing. We tend to put things in boxes and isolate them from each other, and as a result, we miss the relationship between them. Because we say, oh, well, this is that and this is that, and they're separate. Well, what I found is that, for instance, from these equations I wrote, I'm able for the first time in history to output precise gravitational constant value with some 10 to 12 digit accuracy. This is remarkable because usually gravity is only known, the constant is only known to 3-digit accuracy with 2 more digits that have variability. But and in physics it's a problem because every time you have G in the equation, you end up not having the same level of resolution to other constants like the Reinberg constant and so on. And so, but from these equations now we have very, very accurate value for gravity. And the reason why I have this is because there's a new understanding of gravity that emerged where you realize that gravity is basically just space-time turning in a region, space-time spinning, quantum space-time or space memory network or information coalescing in a region of space. Einstein said mass curves space-time and it makes gravity. It results in gravity, like a ball on the trampoline bends the surface of the trampoline. The effect is that another ball appears like it's being attracted. Well,
and that just became way too embedded to be the mainstream. Right? This is why I've got almost a Cheshire cat grin emerging on my face. Right, I'm trying to contain it. Right, as you explained, because I've been having this basically conversation for a while,
right,
and really challenging the mainstream thought as to what gravity is. So much so that, do you know what? I'm just going to name what I'm doing gravity because it really harnesses, and encapsulates what you're about to explain.
That's right. Because it's critical that we understand this, because that's what makes things coalesce, right? Without us being sucked onto this planet, everything coalescing, without gravity, nothing comes together. So basically, I realized that, yes, Einstein was correct. He was describing like in your bath, when you pull the plug, right? The surface of the water curves towards the drain, and if you put a rubber ducky there, it will start to orbit, right? But why is the water curving towards the drain? Because there is a gradient, right? There's air coming out, there's water coming down, and the whole thing is spinning. The rubber ducky is orbiting because all the molecules in that region of water is spinning together, co-moving, making
a vortex
that the rubber ducky gets caught in. If I take the rubber ducky, put it on the other side of the bath, it doesn't feel it because it's incoherent. The movement is incoherent over there, but it's coherent over there. And so I realized, and this is how I wrote the equation, and then I realized, wait, mass is the same. It's not like mass is one thing and it's making the curvature. It's that where space-time spins and coalesce, right, where the gradient is, then we see that as an energy event that we call mass.
Yeah.
It's not two separate things.
Yeah.
And so, of course, the next thing you're gonna do is go, wait a minute. If that's true, right, if it's not just curving, right, but it's spinning, right, I can't curve space-time. Right? In the standard model, control of gravity is not possible because to curve space-time it takes so much energy. It's outrageous, right? It wouldn't do it. It's like trying to curve the surface of the water on your bath. How are you gonna do that?
Yeah.
But if you realize it's from spin, then you can put your finger in it and just go like this and it'll start curving, right? Yeah. So then the next thing you're gonna say is, wait, I can go in the lab and if I can couple to the structure of space at the quantum, I realize space-time is not smooth, it's granular, it's bits of information, literally bits at the Planck scale of information. If I can couple to that, then I can entrain it in a region of space and make my own vortex.
Absolutely.
And I can control the speed of that vortex. I can make it curve more, I can make it curve less, I can displace it, and I can do anything I want with it as soon as I got it going.
That's the thing, it's such a oversimplified term in the mainstream, and it's always, like you said, associated with mass, and the bigger mass, then it has this effect or that effect, and it is so much more intelligent.
Right.
Than that. It's so much more information. It's almost, it really does come down to spin.
Right.
Right.
And gradients.
Yeah.
Change in density.
Yeah.
The vacuum energy is not the same density at the cosmological size that at the quantum scale.
Yeah.
So the change in density makes it just like a small change in density in air mass will produce a hurricane with like millions of tons of water spinning, and huge electrical discharge and magnetic fields and all this stuff. Even antimatter production happens in the heart of hurricanes. Antimatter, it's gamma ray emission, this high energy physics is happening just because water is spinning. Right?
And when I announced that we're building gravity banking ecosystem, Bitcoin banking ecosystem, the term that I coined as well at the same time to explain the philosophy behind the rationale as to why we're building, also the design methodology as to what we're doing and how we're going to build it is everything yet nothing, right? Because if we talk about how we experience gravity, right, in the simplest form, it's keeping us on this chair, right? But also it's keeping us on this chair while the chair's on Earth and Earth's in. It becomes a much more complex thing, right? So we experience it like it is nothing, but really and truly it is everything.
It's an amazing thing.
It's an incredible thing.
Yesterday I was riding in a car with friends, Olivier's wife and children, and I was commenting, it's like, how is it that this car is sticking to the planet, right? It's an amazing thing, right? Yeah. We take it for granted, right? Of course we're sticking to the planet, but it's an amazing thing.
When you really boil it down, you think about it, it's like amazing. How?
Yeah, and when you look at my equation, it becomes clear. It is the flow of information towards the center is literally like a fluid pressure, towards the center that produces this effect we call gravity, the curvature of space-time. And so, and that produces mass, and it produces charge, and it produces electromagnetic fields, and the whole thing falls out of it. You see the whole thing emerge from it, and information flow, feedback structures, and then complexity, consciousness. The whole thing comes out. It's remarkable.
Everyone knows and can theorize the benefits of anti-grav or gravitational control just by watching Star Wars, right? We know that plane launches vertically and it can go wherever it wants.
Right.
So everyone goes, oh, that's cool. I can see why that's cool.
Right.
Okay? But if we look at, all right, and now really hone in on your work, and also I really love to speak about ARC as well, because everyone asks me about why I wear this around my neck. Right? So I definitely want it directly from the horse's mouth as to exactly why ARC and how you've manufactured your crystal, etc. But if we just stay on the subject of gravity for a moment, one is what it is that you're trying to achieve with gravity control and where you guys are kind of at right now, and I guess more importantly is how does Earth change once we open that door, right? Because it's not just, this is the thing that is really interesting about unified field model, is because the box it is that is being open for a wide variety of applications, right? So I think the next thing is allowing people to really imagine just how our lives on a day-to-day basis changes once these types of technologies start coming through to the mainstream. So really and truly, just explain what it is that you guys are trying to do, and then if achieved and when achieved, what does the world look like?
Okay, well, there's two things that we're concentrating on. They're both related. One is to extract energy from that fundamental field, because when you calculate the amount of energy at the Planck scale that's present, that fluid crystal lattice, right? This amazing, that's very crystalline on long distances and very rigid, but on short distances is very fluid. When you calculate how much energy is there, it's remarkable. It's in each centimeter cube, there's enough energy to power the world for millions of years. And so if you extract 1/1000% of what's there, you can have, energetic devices that will power your car, your house, anything you want.
You might even be able to have an iPhone that doesn't run out of battery.
Yes, exactly. You won't have to
Charge your iPhone 5 times in a day.
Exactly. It's like, oh no, I forgot to plug my iPhone, right? And so that, that's a game changer for humanity. Like energy production is the key to the survival of our society. Like we have to find a new way to produce energy that is not destructive to our planet and that is, compatible with biology. And so, this is a way of extracting energy that is completely harmonious with nature. And you might say, well, if you pull it from the structure of the vacuum, are you depleting the universe? No.
Universe is good, man. It's got loads.
Universe is good.
Like this one, you said a centimeter cube, this one cup, imagine.
Yeah, it's got gigatons of power in it. But instead of like doing it from fission or from fusion, you're actually extracting it directly from the fundamental field. So there was no negative, environmental impact, and you're not depleting the universe because as you're using the energy, you're putting it back.
Yeah.
So it's feedback, right? It's like you're putting your little generator in the flow of space-time. Just like before you were putting your little turbine in the flow of a river and got power out of it. It's the same. It doesn't hurt the river, right? And so we're working on that actively. And as well, of course, when you've tapped it, when you've coupled to it and you know how to couple to it, then you can get it, you can make your own vortex. And now you got a gravitational drive. You can create depressions in space-time. Like you could think of it as a little black hole in space-time or a depression in a gradient in space-time that you can displace above a ship, for instance, and make the ship fall up, right? Instead of falling down towards the center of the earth. And so now you're falling up. And since you're falling up, but the effect you're creating is in the ship, the depression stays ahead of it. So you keep falling.
Paying it forward.
Yeah, that's right. And so the acceleration is very high. So that would give us, space travel capabilities that are unconceivable today with rocketry and chemical rockets. Like we're not gonna colonize our solar system with rockets. It's not feasible. It's not.
I giggle every single time everyone claps around what Tesla's doing. When I say Tesla, I'm talking about the company, not Nikola Tesla.
Right.
What Elon's doing with
SpaceX.
Yeah, SpaceX.
Yeah, and Virgin Galactic as well. All this. They have really good intent, and it's a great idea. Except it's not going to happen this way. It's not feasible.
We would destroy our atmosphere and our planet.
Destroy
Even
our
just
planet.
trying to build a base on the moon, like a full-blown base with rockets.
Right, with like rockets going back and forth, making holes in the ionosphere, burning, millions of tons of material to get there. It's not feasible. Gravity control, though, is the way to go. And this is why I'm trying to get these guys to understand that's where they should be investing their research money is into, and it's not so esoteric. Like NASA has a section that's working on warp drives, and gravity control.
And there's patents published now.
There's patents
as well. The US just rushed out, I think it was only last year,
right,
to rush out and publish a patent before the Chinese, so they didn't have to pay the Chinese a royalty on space exploration.
Right.
You've got Trump just announced the sixth faction of the US military, the US Space Force. They just put out their new logo, I think last month.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
He speaks in the breath of saying that we're going to unlock the secrets to space. US is going to be the most dominant force in space, which then begs the question, who's the most dominant force right now? Right? There's so much that's coming out of mainstream.
Let's just make the humans, a benevolent force in space. That would be nice.
That 100%.
Let's just all go together to space.
And when we are there, let's not be assholes.
Yeah, exactly. Let's just not. Why do we want to fight if we have access to all of the resources that are available? If we have gravitational drive, we can get all the water we need from comets. We can get all the minerals we need from
100%,
the asteroid belt, from other. I mean, we have access.
And this is the thing, and genuinely, I've never actually spoken on this ever, but it's been the driver. It's why Bitstocks has built Gravity and is building Gravity. It's why I'm involved in Bitcoin. It's because I have and understand all this background information, right, as really where the world is going, where it's been and where it is that we're going. And where the trajectory in which we're going is that we really are going and are becoming and will become a publicly known interplanetary civilization, right? And trade is to become galactic. You just mentioned the asteroid belts. Well, it is the perfect place to mine.
Right.
So if everyone on the planet right now is thinking, oh yeah, gold. Well, dude, the gold supply could be completely distorted if we just get gravity control and we mine the asteroid belt.
Right, exactly.
So it's
so all of a sudden the value of things is not how rare they are, or how scarce there is, but actually they're infinitely abundant. The value of things is the creativity of what we can do with them.
And this is why I say
the true value.
Human mind is now the new oil field of the planet. And we really want to speak that language. This is why we're building a data bank and we're building infrastructure on top of the only infrastructure really that can have an interplanetary trading system and keep it all organized. It's Bitcoin. It really is the true potential of where Bitcoin is going. And this is the real reason why I'm in this space. It's the real reason why I called our banking ecosystem Gravity. And
to me, it was clear when I first saw cryptocurrency come around that it would be the currency of the future. Because, of course, if you're an interplanetary, community like civilization, you're probably not printing dollars and coins and stuff, and you're probably got
data.
It's just information exchange across the world, across the universe, And so, when I saw what you were doing with Gravity Bank, I loved the name of it. That's for sure. But I was like, okay, this guy is onto it, and it's important that the transfer of force, is difficult. There's every revolution. When we went from the horse and buggy to the automobile, it was hard for the people that were making horseshoes. And it was hard for people that did their business on traveling. On horse and carriage.
Every industrial revolution, there's a change. But I think we're entering a stage now, also with the advent of extreme automation, where genuinely, in the most simplest form, technology allows human beings to offload the laborsome tasks and really be more creative. That really should be the utility of technology. And when we're now entering this hyper-automated phase, we do really need to have, say, technologies that allow human beings to be what we really truly are, which is creatives, and being able to manifest our creations, not be limited by, say, the balance of a bank balance, right? And just be limited by ultimately your own state of human consciousness. But then when we are tapping into a more of a collective state, the kind of changes we're going to have as a global collective is I don't think people are really going to realize just how beautiful things can actually be when we remove this whole kind of dog-eat-dog scarcity-based aspect to what it has been, the human condition up until this point.
Right. I mean, as well, it's really important that we decouple the banking structures with the corporate structures, and that, we build structures that financial structures that are truly for the benefit of the population, not necessarily the benefit of the corporations, meaning that the corporations' ultimate goal should be to serve the population, with the needs that the population has. And as a result, benefit from it is fine,
But then at that point, profit doesn't have to be a dirty word, because you're serving humanity.
You're serving humanity. That's right.
But long story short, on all of this, it's really what's brought us together Okay, I've seen the flaws and the holes in, say, the economic system, the financial system, seen just how much of a powerful tool Bitcoin can be to plug a lot of these holes, but also understood the power that Bitcoin isn't just an economic financial system. In fact, it's protected by economics, which is what makes it work and thrive. But really, it is a way of recording every interaction. And for work such as yours and what it is that you're doing, a huge thing that you've mentioned quite a few times on this conversation that we've been having is censorship, right? Being able to create and get your creations out there, because your work truly benefits the planet. Once it gets out, it's a huge benefit to the planet. And I think we're at a stage now with technology that we have some beautiful pieces that just need to be combined correctly, right? So with what you're doing around energy, gravitational control, Bitcoin as a place of memory, like planetary memory, right? And then you've got extreme automation concepts like AI that otherwise, without this component, this is a very dangerous subject matter. But with this component where you've got a complete audit trail and then you've got a data set that you actually know is contained within, this actually becomes one of the greatest liberators potentially for the human condition, and just allows us to be more of what we really are, being creative.
You know, most of the population of human beings on the planet are benevolent.
Yes,
you know,
100%.
People want to have a beautiful life, live in joy, love their children, love their partner, love their neighbor, love their friends. You know, it's people are like naturally benevolent.
And this is why I don't have a negative view on government, police forces, and all they say the hierarchical structures, because the vast majority really are benevolent. The issue is, and this is why we should never use a tarnished brush to banish and tarnish a whole section of human beings, because you throw any group of human beings into a room, any collective, you're gonna have good and you're gonna have bad. Right. I don't care what the banner is. You're gonna have good and you're gonna have bad. Right. But the issue is, and the challenge is that when a human being in a position of power abuses that power, and then a benevolent human being witnesses the abusing of that power, can you make a sovereign decision? Right.
And can you make it known?
Yeah.
And currently you can't.
Very challenging. It's very challenging. Not without taking great personal risks. Right. Not only to yourself, potentially your family, and who knows, right? And this is what neuters and censors many of us. And then you have people such as yourself, even myself, and many people that we're aware of and know that we work with, have to be willing to be the one that steps their head up out the parapet, has a look around and say, look, guys, we're not going to get anywhere if we continue this way, right? We need to start plowing forward, and we need to start moving forward. We need to start building genuine products that work, that can be integrated within the confines of, say, the structure that we have today, but really allow, say, those good, benevolent people within these societal structures to start feeling more sovereign, right? Because that's how we're going to start getting the change. And I think the naive view is to be very anarchistic and try and build some alternative system outside of the one it is that we have, that is society. I do not have that view. I really don't have. I know you don't have that view as well.
No, I think everybody's got to come along. It's breaking up inside all the institutions anyway, because, you know, people are waking up everywhere, realizing, you know, we're running society straight into a brick wall, and it's time to make changes. And, you know, eventually, and as well, the older generation of the people that put the institutions in the 50s, in the 40s, 50s, 60s are petering out, and the newer generation are coming in. I see it in the generations of physicists that are coming in. They don't have such a big attachment to the old paradigm of physics, and they're more willing to listen to new views because they can see we're missing big pieces.
Definitely.
And so I think there's a lot of hope. Can we make that change fast enough? That depends on you and I, on every single human being out there, what choice they're gonna make.
Yeah, we all have a role to play.
Yeah.
We all have a role to play. So we definitely could talk forever, right?
I know.
We need to wrap this up somehow.
Right.
So very quickly before we wrap this up, I would love for you to explain ARC.
Oh, right.
So I get asked questions on this all of the time. So prior to me wearing the art crystal, I was wearing Flanagan's medallion, the Sensor 5. But please do me a massive favor so I can recite everyone back to this point and this video, the benefits of art crystal.
Well, we saw in the tour of the lab that we've done a lot of, plant tests and so on. Basically, what I figured out early on is that when you can create like very small partial tap into the structure of the vacuum, and its energetic effects have a positive impact on life, because life feeds off that. You might say, well, no, we feed off food. Well, what is food? Well, foods are atoms. Atoms are powered by that field, and so you're basically feeding off the vacuum. But and then there's people that have stopped eating and feed directly from the vacuum. That's another story. But so I figured out a way, and of course crystals would be involved, because we use crystals in electronic devices because they're really good oscillators. So they're a very pure crystal can have a very coherent oscillating rate, and it's very sensitive. And so I started to think of building crystals that I could put in very high, rotating electromagnetic field, and see if I could get them to hold that memory, so that they would produce a little vortex in space where they were. So that's why I call them gravitational lasers. People ask me too all the time when I wear this, like at the pump, at the garage, at the grocery store, what is it that you're wearing? I tell them it's a gravitational laser. They go, oh, okay.
Cool story, bro.
But basically, it produces a little coherency in the structure of space around it. And when you expose it to water, the water structures, it changes its structures, becomes more energetic, becomes more bioavailable. All the tests we've done on plants prove that. It's remarkable. I mean,
for those guys, check out the other video that we're going to put out. Not sure if we're going to put out before or after, but we got a great segment on that.
And so basically, we can show that plants, become more healthy. They are more resistant to pathogen. That they, grow faster. They have more viable seeds. I mean, so basically, since we're made mostly of water, depending on how you calculate it, it can go from 75% to like 90% water. Having the crystal and wearing it allows you to, structure your water so it has a little more energy, so it's a little more bioavailable. And then I made it detachable so that you can put it under your water bottle at night. You put little blocks around it and charge your water. We're making a water bottle, so it'll be easier. That will have the crystal in the middle. And then you can put it in there and charge your water and then drink your water. But even just putting it in your hand, usually you can feel it. You can feel the change on the water structure in your hand. And I've put it in the hands of people that, they look at me like, I don't feel crystals, To be
fair, I was kind of one of those people.
Yes, you were.
Yeah, I was actually one of those people. I was like, bro, I'm not sensitive.
I don't feel those.
But then you put it in, I was like, what the hell? Yeah.
And so basically, it's just the beginning, the very baby step, beginning of technology that is utilizing the fundamental structure of the vacuum to produce effects that are beneficial for humanity. In this case, health and energy level. But, eventually it will be running your house and your car and your spaceship. And,
Just for me personally, there's multiple reasons. Like all of that stuff is definitely resonates. I've done so much water work, which is why I just took to this immediately. As soon as I saw the germination rates and all that stuff and the water results, I was like, yep, I'm sold. Because I've been studying that for a while. But for me, knowing how you've charged these crystals and its relationship to gravity and gravitational waves, and also it just looks like you're Tony Stark when you're wearing it. Right?
Yes.
This is a great anchor for me consistently to remind me what my mission is and what I'm even doing over at Bitstocks with building Gravity, because this is an incredible reminder of the things that people say are not possible.
Right, exactly. When you start doubting yourself and you think, maybe I'm going crazy, you can just put the crystal in your hand and go, oh no, I feel it. It's real. Okay, I can go again.
100%, dude. 100%. Well, Nassim, brother, I freaking love you, man. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
And we, in fact, it's not, we over at Bitstocks are with you on the mission. We're definitely with you on the mission of humanity, and we know that you're with us too.
Yes.
On that mission.
We can support each other.
100%.
Yeah.
Really loving the journey and experience of teaching more about Bitcoin and really Bitcoin's role in all of this. And also you've really blown open my mind as to how to even view Bitcoin the right, without even realizing, I've been studying your work for years, but when you speak of space and time and density and the structures, and it allowed me to really see at a much deeper level what is the real possibility in unlocking a technology like Bitcoin. So I think you are an incredible mind to have even in close proximity to this space.
Thank you.
It's very much needed and it's very much welcomed. And yeah, dude, I just want to let you know, man, I appreciate you. And I'm glad that we've done this, and I'm glad that we've got this out there.
Appreciate it.
And yeah,
it's great to meet you as well, and to, you know, to start aligning our missions. Because like I said, you know, it's everybody has to come, and we have to reset. You know, we have to push the reset button on many of our structures, both in the scientific world, which we're going through a very profound transformation in physics today, not just from my work, but many people, but as well, I think, in our financial structures, in the way even in the way that we consider wealth, and in the way we consider resources and abundance, you know, and you know, coming out of concept of scarcity into concept of abundance. There's an infinite amount of energy out there. You know, like I was saying earlier when we were doing the lab tour, you know, the concept that things are always bound towards entropy and always run down is only a very small part of the dynamics of space. Meaning, you know, I challenge any scientist to show me, you know, the entropy of a proton, for instance.
Dude, trust me, when I've been in conversations with very intelligent, like really intelligent individuals, and genuinely, when the conversation starts going towards the whole entropy, I'm like, oh God. I was like,
right.
Like, really, dude?
Right.
But it's such a cemented thing and thought process.
Yeah, the thought that the universe doesn't do a linear thing where it starts, it runs, and then it ends. It do a thing where it continuously cycle from infinitely big to infinitely small. And it's like we're part of this amazing mechanics. We're part of this amazing cycle, and we're all there together to explore it and discover it. And if we hold each other, if we support each other, if we build together, you know, as all of humanity, instead of making these divisions between you and me, and like all respecting each other's individuality and realizing our common collective journey that we're on, then we have an amazing future towards where we're going.
Appreciate you, man.
Yeah, let's get it done.
So I don't know if this is going to be a 1 episode or 2 episodes. Me and Nassim definitely could have spoken for another couple of hours, but in true fashion, as always, I hope many messages are taken away from this conversation. It's definitely a really special one. I really hope that you guys go out there, as always, utilize your own discernment. Don't just take what we said at face value. Go and research and check out the concepts and things that we said. Go and look into some of Nassim's work, read his papers, actually look at what it is that he's done. And yeah, as always, in true fashion, peace, love, and light. Until next time, guys, all the best.